and we're about to begin another project and a workshop that I'd like to give you a little bit of an introduction to. Some time ago, a gentleman, approximately 38 years ago, had the privilege of visiting a gallery in New Orleans through a friend who had purchased paintings from this gallery, and I got to meet a very influential art dealer and gallery operator who was a very kind man and a very good man, and gave me an opportunity to meet him at a separate time. We went to one of the openings at this particular place, and it was all set up for him to take a look at some of my paintings and maybe give me a little critique, some ways he could help me, point me to an agent, whatever. This was 38 years ago now, maybe almost 40. And so when I met the gentleman, he was very complimentary of my work. He even went so far as to say that I should be nationally ranked right now, and he said he wished that he was still doing agent work for artists, but that was another part of his career, and there were very few people that did this at this time, as I've certainly found out, and it is a problem for artists. Hard to paint it and be able to do it, to sell it at the same time. And so he spoke with me about critiqued my work, said a lot of nice things, gave me a lot of good advice. But one thing he said, I never forgot. And that he said, Larry, I know you want me to be honest with you, and I'll tell you what's wrong with your paintings. He said, you're like most American artists. You use your paintings directly from the tube. Your paint, I should say, directly from the tube. And as a result of it, it has a sameness in your paint and your paint mixing and things like that, because they're generated like everyone else's paintings are generated. And he said the one thing I would recommend to you above everything else is that you would go ahead and find a way to develop your own palette, and then I think you would find that you'll go a lot further with your paintings. And so as I left there, I was very happy about the compliments, but I don't mind telling you, I was very confused from the sense that, and this is really being honest with you, that's a nice thought about finding my own palette, but where do you find it? Where do you even look for it? You know, what do you do? So for the last 40 years or so, I've continued an experiment without ceasing to discover, to read, study other artists, try to use different palettes, and so many things that I've just done consistently, and I've had a great learning experience from it. But it still I did not feel it was really meeting the need of what I would like it to be. And so I have a habit now, and a lot of times when I come home in the evening, I'll have a little glass of wine and go through the internet. And I like looking up artists, and then, you know, when you do it today, you can get a college education on the internet if you want to look at it as far as artists and unknown people and people that even well-known people that influenced me 50 years ago. Their works are all over the internet. So every night I kind of made it a hobby to look these things up and continually study, try to find out what their palette was. And so as a result of it, I learned a lot, and it was a lot of great experiences. Just before, we're in 2014 right now. About the middle of December in 2013, I was doing this one night, and I happened to read about a gentleman by the name of Mr. Edward Simmons, and who was an artist that lived in the mid 1800s, and he had a particular palette, and he was from America but went to Europe and studied in Paris like most artists do. And while he was there, or did I should say at that time, and when he was there, he started introducing this palette to some of the friends he met. I'm sure it was the Impressionists, and I know it was others that later became very famous. And the unique thing about this palette is it was a palette that only had 4 colors. Okay, now this is hard to believe, but I'll just show you a little sample of it right here. Okay, where we had cadmium red medium, yellow ochre, titanium white, and lamp black, excuse me, ivory black. So it's ivory black, titanium white, yellow ochre, and cadmium red medium. And so I said, now this is quite interesting. And it was written by a contemporary gentleman, and who brought this to my attention, anyone else that wants to look it up. And so I call it the Simmons palette. In fact, he was Edward Emerson Simmons. Excuse me, Edward, I can't remember his name, but his yes, it was Edward Emerson, just to be fair, because there was another Edward Emerson, and it was, and that was the name of the gentleman that found, that more or less used this palette, took it to France, and a lot of prominent artists wound up using it and made it famous. And so I started experimenting more with the internet, and I started finding quite a few references to it. And particularly, I would start finding where they had made color charts. And so I started looking at these things, and I couldn't figure how you could take those 4 colors and do all of that. So I'll move this over here for just a second now, and I think it's going to fill the screen up with a lot of luck very nicely. And so this is the palette. And what I did was I started with the first row over here on this side, and I took yellow ochre and 100% yellow ochre, 100% pure cadmium red, medium, 100% black, and the percentages on the left were all percentages of white that were added to the particular colors as you mix them. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of this with you all. Everyone that is at the workshop is actually going to get a smaller version like this. That's going to be satisfactory, and it's actually a reproduction of the one that I made that you're going to be getting. And so I'm more interested in teaching you how to use the grid than I am doing it with you, okay? Because of the limited amount of time. So what we're going to do, we're going to let you, if you later on want to do this, I'll be more than happy to help tell you what to get, how to set it up, show you how to set it up. But I can tell you right now that it took me 8 hours to do this right here, and it's a little tedious. But the minute I saw this, I knew there was something unique to it, like I had never seen before. I think one of the main things is that through the process of using these colors, I mean, we've got pinks, we've got flesh tones, as beautiful as anything I've ever seen. We get into these grays and tans and this burnt sienna. It was just absolutely unbelievable. And here we have a little olive green, a little blue mixed with the black and the white and so forth. And I had no idea that that this particular black that we're talking about using, the ivory black, had blue in it. And that's what comes out when you mix the white with it. So the basic thing that we did is we actually took the color and we went through it and started with this, and I kept adding white to it until we created this color. Then you go to right next to it. It's yellow plus the red, 2-to-1 yellow. Yellow plus the red, 1-to-1. Yellow plus the red, 1-to-2. And then you would mix the white all the way down to here, and then you would begin adding the lamp black to the percentages on the side of it that I'm going to demonstrate to you in just a minute. So we came all the way down, and that started it the other way. What I like about it, you have the strongest color right here with the yellow, the strongest with the black, and all this in between was mixed. Now the real beauty, as you're going to see in a moment when I demonstrate this, the real beauty is going to be the fact that that I'm going to be able to show you how, if I want to use this color, I can do it. And I'll give you an example. Let's see how much of this is going to be on the screen. This is the first painting that I did after I completed it. And when I showed everyone after the first of the year, when we started back in classes, everyone went ballistic. And I knew when I was doing it, and please realize this is nothing that I want to take credit for. It's been in existence, but like so many times, these things get lost and they're rediscovered, and this is just my version of it, okay? But it's completely someone else's idea, but I just want to share it with you because I think it's something well worth looking at, seeing, and understanding. And evidently, everyone else did, because when they looked at my painting, everybody, there were 50 people in the first 2 weeks that signed up for workshops. So I'll be doing them the next 4 months, and 4 weeks, excuse me. And so that's pretty much how all of this came about. So, as I said, I'm not wanting to dwell on the chart. You're going to get a chart. I've already done the work. What I would like to do, however, is to show you how to do one column. All of you are going to get DVDs, and because I'm doing one column like this, okay, then you're going to be able to use it as a guideline, and I'll help each of you individually if you want to do this at home. It's too much time to do in class, and that's not what this is all about. My time with you is going to be spent on showing you how to mix the colors for the particular subject that we're going to be doing. So, having said that, I'm going to go ahead and pause and get ready for the next portion of our study. Okay, it's Larry Casso again, welcoming you back to the second portion of our demo after the brief introduction. I'd like to now give you an example of how you apply this. And now what I've done in the particular chart you have, there are 10 actually squares over here. Now I just took this tape, cut it in half, and made smaller strips in between. And this was done very quickly and crudely, because remember, I'm only really interested in this row, okay? And I might add to you, don't do this row and then this row, excuse me, don't do this row and then start going this way. Doesn't work that way. Okay, what we want to recognize is that the first column we'll put down is going to be 100%, okay, of the yellow ochre. Second, I'm going to use enough white to where it becomes 80%. Now, what I love about this is people ask me, and I wondered the same thing, I'm going to be honest with you, how do I know it's 80%? Well, the whole idea of this is the chart. Once you got it mixed, okay, I'm going to show you how to mix it and then put it on the chart and then go ahead and see what that looks like, okay? And that's how you test it, not by using a meter or using some kind of measurement, but you mix your color and you put it up against it, then you mix the next color. It doesn't have to be the same. What you want is, remember the word value, the most complex word in the English language for every person that's ever painted. If you don't get it on values, do a lot of black and whites until you're not afraid to put the dark in, because if you don't put the darks in, you're not going to get it with this in color for sure. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside for a moment, and we're going to take our get a little bit of my yellow ochre, and I think we're going to put a little bit more out. And I just want to say, as we get to this particular point, I want to recognize my associate Gary Hurton, whose assistance in every kind of way has been invaluable in doing this thing together, and was a little discouraging at the beginning, I don't mind, and she really encouraged me to pursue it, and it was a great a help to both of us, so I really want to thank Gary for her assistance in doing this. Okay, so we're going to come to the yellow ochre. Now, I think what I can do here, let's just come in closer, and I think you can see this a little bit better. I think that's a little easy to read. Maybe I'll go back up just a little now. Well, we can get the black in here. One of these days I can fix that motion, but why not put it off? That's what I figure on stuff like that. What difference does it make? Okay, now I'm going to start with this. Now, let me tell you a little secret. We only want 5% white, okay? Well, excuse me, this is going to be direct. So we're going to start with the yellow like this, okay? Put it here. And here's our little square. Okay, now I'm going to take now every one of you have a jar of turpentine. Make sure everyone uses, and you always use the kind that you get at Hobby Lobby, because many of them advertise it. It's called Masterpiece. Many people advertise odorless. It's the only true odorless I've ever found. Okay, so we're going to come in now, and this is, anybody ought to be able to do this. Now, we don't want to use too much turpentine. We'll move this over, and we'll put this like this. It's not really necessary to see every bit of it on here. We don't need to worry about that. All right, here's the yellow ochre. So we're going to come down. Now, we don't want to add too much turpentine to it. So we're going to do the yellow ochre. Now, you're not going to do this in class. This is what I planned to do originally. Could you imagine what it would be like to do this with 50 people trying to get it? Okay, but we will do it with you when we mix the colors. Okay, so that's our first tone. And sometimes, while it's wet, you can come back and get it a little bit. Now, what I do, I use plain turpentine. You can add linseed oil in certain colors if you ever want to, but I personally like it just the way it comes from the factory in the tube, okay? And a little interesting thing about color mixing and finding your own palette, just one second. Okay, now, while we're doing this particular part right here, and I think a very important aspect of understanding this thing about artists getting their own palette, before the really middle to later period in the 1800s, many people don't realize this, but there were no tube paints. And that's where you get your own palette from, see? Because they got their own palette because they mixed their own paint. I know that's hard to imagine because it's so convenient, but this has helped me to break through it. And I like having it like this. But I wanted to mention it just to show you how significant this is that before this period, and I'll just hold this up here like this, there were not, this span that I gave you, there were no tubes. And there's a gentleman, he's got the classic on the principles of harmony and contrast of colors and their applications to the arts. Aimé Chevreul, I'll just pronounce it as a French name, best I can. And this is a book that Winslow Homer used as a Bible about color mixing. And what this gentleman did, amongst everything else of organizing, systematizing color and making of color, what he did was he is the one that invented the tubes that we put the paint in today. Now, what's significant about that? After he did this in tubes, you didn't have to mix your own colors, but you had to mix the colors that you wanted. And most artists, that's what they did. So you no longer had to make your own colors. So this is how serious people were about their own palettes. And it's a book, it's I'm sure for someone that understands this better than I do, I never got a lot out of it from a practical standpoint, but then again, I never had anybody to really interpret it to me. It's in English, but it was a very expensive book. It was well worth getting it and reading some of the different things in it. So this is where we get back to having our own palette. So we're going to start with our major pot of paint, and we're going to go right here, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this again. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of paint here. And since it's not an extreme amount, I'm going to cut a few corners, excuse me, and come in here again, but then I want to take this and I'm going to take some of the pure color and I'm going to mix a little white with it. There we go. And it may not show up exactly right on the screen. Now, what you do is you take your brush and I put it on here, and let's see, I think this is a little bit low. When I put it here, I found this is a little bit too light. Okay, now this will be adjusted some more later. So I'll take a little bit of the yellow and put it in it. So what I'm doing, I'm putting the yellow back in it, and then I'm going to put this here. It's getting a lot closer. Put a little bit more yellow back in it. Remember, this is 80% yellow, 20% white, and I think I'm getting pretty close to what I want. Now, this is where the word juxtaposition comes in, that I never really fully understood the application of it. I'm going to keep doing this now. Now, this is going to still probably be a little bit too light, but in fact, I just was looking for a little shortcut to share with you, but decided that I'm going to use this and I'm going to show you a little bit different way to do this. Now, juxtaposition simply means what happens when you place colors against other colors. And what it does, it changes the color. And because all of these colors are the same, 4 colors, what happens in our case is that it actually, every time you put your brush down, it's going to actually complement the color. And what happens in that situation is that while you're mixing your palette and you're doing all the different things that you're doing, you're going to have a color harmony, you're going to have a softness, you're going to have a harmony without even doing anything, just simply because of the method that we're using. So I'm looking at my thing, I think it's pretty close. Now, I'm going to take what I just mixed now, down here, okay, and I'll take a little bit of this. Now we're going to go to 60% white, excuse me, 60% color. Okay, same thing. I'm going to do this. Now watch how this will change on you automatically going down. Do this. Now you reach a point that you're not going to want to add color, white to your color, because you can mix a ton of color that way. At come a time, we'll take the white and mix it with the with the yellow ochre. Now I'll come down here. I can see this is very light. Let's see. Okay. Again, it's a little hard to read, but you'll see it when you do it yourself. So we're going to mix that color there. I'm going to put, and you don't know how it may dry a little differently. It doesn't matter, and I'll show you why later. So we're going to put a little bit more of our color with it. Okay, so now we're going for 60%. Okay, come back over here. Bingo! Piece of cake. Even though it starts to take on a little orangey tint to it, doesn't it? So here's your next color. Okay, now you see you have this one. Now remember the difference. I'm doing it with my palette knife, but I'm going to switch that now. And what's going to make the difference is when you actually come in Now let's paint this in. And after you get it all on there, this is where the juxtaposition is going to come in, see? Because you do this row, and it's never going to look like you want it because of the tape and the color coming next to it. But when you put that paper on, when you lift that tape up, as long as you leave enough of a difference, okay, it doesn't have to look like your source exactly. All you want is the color that you're mixing to be lighter than the color before it. Now, when we come all the way down to 5, then whatever color we have here, then I'm going to go back and adjust these colors to make them different, not to copy the chart. And I hope you understand that, because that's a very big part of it. And I think this is just so exciting. I've never heard of anything like this in my life. And I want y'all to know how I appreciate your enthusiasm and so forth. So now we've got the third color. So now we want to go to the next tone, which is going to be 20% white, yellow ochre. Okay, so let's do this. And we'll come back. Let's clean our brush. Okay, it still looks a little bit on the darker side, but let's come back and do this. Okay. Bingo. Right on the money. See, we get some of this. I'm negotiating this jar over here. I know what I'm going to do. Okay. Move this over a little bit more. Okay, now look at that color. It's almost perfect, but I'm not worried about trying to make it perfect now, because I'm going to bring it down. And the wonderful thing about this, I think more than anything that I can think of, is, now see, like right now, it doesn't really look like there's a lot of difference. And when you finish, there's not, will make more of a difference. But I know I haven't had experience with it. Well, I can see it. There is a difference, okay? And it's just that you need the white, but you need the color over here, and as we go on, the color on the other side, and that's where the juxtaposition is going to come in, and you're going to see how they're all brought out differently because of that. Okay, so that's our fourth one. Now, we're down to 5% color and 20% white. So you know what we're going to do? Okay, so now we have, I don't know how they ran through here just now while I was doing this, but anyhow, no, this phone call came in. All right, now I'm down to 5%. And I'm going to take this, and that's way too dark for 5%. Now this is when I was telling you, we've reached the point now. These are beautiful flesh tones. That's the one thing everybody said about it that I thought was so exciting, is that they loved it for flesh tones. So we're going to come in like this. And I know this is taking a little time, but it's not when it comes to the color mixing, okay? And we've not got that much time in it right now. And considering everything, it's going to be, I think, really easy. Now here's the difference. We're going to take this and we're going to put white. Now we're going to reverse it. We're not adding white to the color. We're going to add a little bit of color to the white. And look at how I can almost get it the first time, see? Okay, now, put this on here and make sure you can see it. Voila, perfect. So we're going to come in and do this. Okay, and just clean turpentine, clean out my brush. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit here, and that's going to be our fifth color. Now, see, I can see when I put some here, I can do this, and I can really begin to see the distinctions now, and they're pretty distinct going up the scale. Now, I really think that when they dry, they're all going to dry a lot lighter. My temptation, now, let's say if I just wanted to, I could take this color, and if I decided that this should have been a little lighter, it's in between these two, I could just take a little white while it's wet, add a little white to it, see? I don't think it makes it that much of a difference, but it may to you. But anyhow, this gets it right to that point. Okay, now, this is the part that gets a little tricky, okay? Because, pause this 1 second. Okay, now I'm going to take my white, which is the predominant color, okay, with the yellow ochre, and I'm going to take a tiny, tiny bit of the black and move it on down here. Now, that's probably a little bit too much black, but maybe not. You see, I don't know till I try it, but I'm aiming for the 5% black now. And I'm telling you, as you look at your palette, you're going to be shocked at all the different colors that come out in it, okay? A little bit on the dark side. Now you see, when I'm at this point, I can very easily add a little bit more white to it. And then I feel like it needs to be a little bit lighter. And this is the part, and I'll tell you a little story about what painting I learned a long time ago. A lot of people want instant gratification and everything, and I found that, and so now, I don't think, I'm so sorry, I thought you were looking at this with me. What I did, I took the white, I took the black, and I mixed it with my last color here. I added black to it, got exactly the gray that I want, put it on here, okay, and again, we've got a perfect replica of the color, very easily. But this is the chart you use to check it. Okay, so let's take a little bit of this now, and I'll put it on here, and then we're going to paint that in. Okay. Now we're just going back the other way now. Now, see, anytime you put the color, let's say if I felt it needed to be a little light, I can even do it later, see, it doesn't make any difference. But I just the heck of it, I'm going to make it just to show you, see, you can actually paint on here. Okay, now they're pretty close to the same value, okay? Now, I'm going, if you look at your chart, you'll see now I'm going to the next value. Now this is where we're going to only have, 20% black instead of 5%, and you'll see what happens in that situation. Okay, so let's get my palette knife, and I'm going to take this little bit here, okay, and then I'm going to go in with a little bit more black. Let's see what we come up with. Now, it's not a given, as I told you. You know, it's just not going to be automatic. I could have mixed a little bit more color up, but it's no big deal. So we're going to come in with a little bit of white, a little bit maybe of the yellow ochre, and let's see what we come up. Now, it tells you, one of the things on the chart, you're going to read it, I don't have it on the chart yet. One of the things it's going to tell you is that when you're mixing the colors down here, the color that you're missing on this particular first layer, okay, there's a color that you add to it. Okay, just one second. Let me get this part down so I can get it. As we go to this next section now, we've got the gray, then we want to go to the next one. Now, when you do this, you can add a little black, but you don't know the exact mixture. So after I mixed my section, I saw I needed a little bit more yellow in it. See, after I put the trace of black, I put a little bit more yellow. Okay, so here's the color that I came up with right here. And as I held it up against it, it begins to take on the light olive looking color, and it's almost perfect. Okay, so we're going to do this, and now remember, we've got the yellow, the white, and the black, and it's the different mixtures that'll make the colors, and in the process you're going to create colors totally different than you were expecting, so you have no idea what it's going to do. Okay, and that's what we want. So we're going to come here. Now see, I look at it initially and I feel like it really needs to be lighter. Okay, but I put it over to the color. See, that's the key. In oils you can do that because this is going to stay wet all day. See, when my paintbrush is perfect. When I put it on here, it's not. And you go with your instinct, see. You can always change it later. So that's going to be my next color. Now this is taking a little while to do this part. That's why I didn't want to do any more of this. But now we're going to add a little more black to this. Okay. To where we're going to now have this added to it. And I may have put a little bit too much in it. That's okay. So if I put too much, and just go back to some of the yellow. And some of the other yellow that I've mixed that'll make it a darker color. So you have each pile is sitting on here now. So let's come like this. And looking at the chart, I'm trying to make an olive color. So I'm going to keep doing this. I know I need more pure yellow. So we're going to do this. And this is just exciting, just doing it to me. And it's a mystery. Every time you put it down, put a little bit more white in it. So we're still predominantly using the yellow and the white and the black. But I've got my color off a little bit. Now, right now, I think I'm close. So I'm going to hold it on here. And I see it's got a little bit more gray and it needs a little bit more white. So that's when I'm going to come in. I'm going to take me a little bit pure yellow. And I'm going to do this. I think I just hit it on the head. Whoa. Perfecto. Perfecto. Okay, now we're going to do this. I'll put that on there, and it is absolutely perfect. Now, here's the beauty. I'm not showing you a 1, 2, 3 method to mix a color like you like. I'm showing you a 1, 2, 3 method to actually go in and mix colors in such a way that's almost unlimited. And you don't have to follow anybody else's colors, but you have to follow the values, you have to follow the procedure, but then you make the mixtures like you want them. To me, this is where the definition is answered for how do you make your own palette, okay? So let's go to this. Voila. Look at that. Look at there. And I'll tell you, I just start thinking of so many other directions I want to go in with this. That's about as good as it gets, folks. I'm still in amazement. I'm just amazed, that's all. And okay, now, when we get to, you want darker greens? And I noticed, I was studying several artists, Winslow Homer, some others that use almost this green exclusively, even John Singer Sargent. And if they wanted it a little darker, they didn't try to make the deep, deep, dark foliagey colors. You can make them as deep as you want. But they would put a little bit more black to it, okay? And then they would do this, and then we're getting pretty strong now because we've only got 5%. we're 80% black and only 5% of the other color. But it's still going to have this greenish tint. Okay, so I'm going to take this off now, and I'm going to check it, and I mean, wow, a lot. Okay, so we're going to come off of here, and we're going to do this. Man, this is so simple, even an artist can understand it. Okay, now we're going to come back this way. Now, as I said, this is time consuming. Can you imagine me trying to do this with 50 people? But you're going to do it in just a minute, but with the colors you're going to use in your own painting. Okay, it's going by pretty quickly. And now, what's so remarkable is when you put color against color. I wondered all along, what's going to be my dark for my green? Now that I see the green in it, this is absolutely perfect. It's so soft. And just like when you mix a burnt sienna, you look at photographs, the burnt sienna is almost red, red, red. All the burnt siennas are mellow and pretty and whatever. So here we go right here. Now, lastly, this is my favorite. And I think I can figure this one out pretty good. It's called 100% black. Okay. Now, this is all black, nothing else in it. I started with pure yellow, I wound up with pure black. Dilute that just a little bit. So we cover the full spectrum. Man, this is just unreal. I'm satisfied. I feel like I've not only, done it, but I've matched what I just did very, very well. So I think we're going to go ahead and have a little fun here. Now, I may regret this when I do it, but I'm going to start picking up the tape right now. Now, I know it's not wet, not dry, but since it's oils, it might cut me a little bit of slack. So let's come in and see how this is going to work out. Voila. Okay. Okay, this is the tape I put across it. I think this is the primary thing. If you get this first one right, you'll understand how to do the rest of them. Whoa, man! Everything I'm looking at on here, it's just so beautiful. I cannot believe it. How wonderful! And as I see the turpentine, the turpentine will start drying on you in about 10 minutes. And as I see the turpentine drying, I can just see the colors getting richer and richer up against this background. Okay. Okay, that was left over. Okay. Now we're going to do this. Might help if I get my big head out of the way. Okay, now as we come up, each one, I hope you can see the juxtaposition of this stuff now, because every one of these colors change every time I pick the tape up and get it against white. Okay, that's this one right here. tell you what, to think I did all this and I didn't even know what I was doing and produced something this beautiful. And the wonderful thing about it, I still don't know what I'm doing, and it came out good. So, like I said, even an artist can understand it. Okay. Now, let's take all this out of the way and let you see this. And we're going to just establish this with you. Well, you have your charts to look at. I'm not going to write anything else on here. I think that I will make a color copy of this one though. But now that I look at it, I can't say that I like it better or worse, because I think I nailed it right on the money. And to think of the diversity, particularly when I got that color in there. Now, as I said, I think it's a little too gray, but I go back to my palette. But let's say if you thought it was too gray, put a little more yellow in it. And then a little bit of black, you know, and improve the density that way. But this has just been a great experience with this part of it. And I felt that when you try your own at home, and I'm not going to just abandon you, but I hope you can understand. I was hoping we'd get to this part about it because I'm so excited about it. But I just didn't feel that we could do both of these at the same time. So this is what this looks like, just to give you an idea of what I was doing all along. If you didn't see it, I just started with my yellow and I added white, then I added white, and I added yellow to the white, and I kept mixing it until I got the lighter color, and you just bring it right on down like that. And I hope that you certainly enjoyed it, and I think our next effort, we're going to be actually going into the actual, well, we're going to mix the colors for the painting, okay? So we're just going to, the actual painting isn't going to be real bad, but I want you to see what I'm going to do with the chart. Now, when I pick the color out, let's say I decide that I'm going to pick a color like this, or maybe a color like this is one of the colors, well, let me hold this up a little bit, that we're using. Then I'm going to look red and black, red 2-to-1, 5%, voila. Or if I wanted a little bit more of the red, the grayer look, I put instead of 2-to-1 red, I put it 1-to-1. You see, and then you get and you start looking at them, and you see the subtle differences. Now, if I like that color, but I may need to put a little bit more light to get the exact color, then I'll just take that color and add white. And you just multiply this into infinity, and you make your own palette. And I certainly appreciate your attention and enjoyed sharing this with you. Now we're going to go to the next step.